Hi everyone, my name is Charu Morgan and welcome. I'm experimenting with this podcast format for the last 20 years. I have been teaching and coaching and supporting people in a realm that could be named Neo Tantra, meaning embodiment practices, communication, and ultimately supporting people with relationships and intimacy and sexual aliveness, including that inside of our own bodies. So, not limited to what happens for people who are in partnership. And I just have so much trouble with the social media format of keeping things to a minute or a minute and 30 seconds. And I just have so much to say. So, I am taking a chance and putting some things out there in this more longer form. I imagine the form of this will keep morphing and changing. I just thought to give it a try and get it out there for you to begin to have an experience of me and my work and how I think. And if you're interested in learning more about how you can work with me, you can go to my website, charumorgan.com. That's Charu, Charu, Morgan, Morgan.com. All right, I hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, this is Charu Morgan, and I am your host of The Things That Come Between Us. I am getting over a little bit of a cold, and I have my new podcast set up with my microphone and everything, and literally as I sat down to my desk, hit some technical issues, so I'm back to the iPhone, and I apologize if there's any sound weirdness, but we are getting better. Also, I'm getting over a cold, so my voice sounds weird. But here we go, because I am dedicated to making sure that we get an episode out each week, and we're just going to go here. So, this week's episode, what I want to focus on is what I'm going to call the myth of the giver. And I have so many disclaimers here. One of the things that I want to say is that even as I am personally a queer woman, many of the things that I'm going to be talking about on this podcast are in heterosexual relationships and dynamics. It's certainly not going to be entirely that, but it's going to be a lot that, because I think, it's the thing that I have the most experience with within my own life and with my clients over the almost 20 years that I've been working. And B, I think the dynamics that often fall between men and women, and of course, not all women, not limited to men and women, but I think there is something, given that we live under patriarchy, given that we live in a world with so many threads of misogyny, that there are dynamics that often move through heterosexual relationships that have some really interesting particular elements to navigate. And I think I have a lot of interest in highlighting those things and giving people who are in those kind of relationships some additional tools. So I think that many of the things that I talk about probably will span and be true for many different kinds of couples. And I will often be particularly looking at dynamics of people in male bodies, people in female bodies having relationships together. So when I'm talking about the myth of the giver, this is something that has come into my office quite a few times. And in this dynamic, there is, in particular, a male partner who is so genuine, kind, caring, and deeply devoted to his partner, and devoted to making sure that she experiences pleasure, and which we love. So this is something I want to say before I go any further. Absolutely love this. Thank you to those men who are focused on making sure that your woman experiences pleasure in lovemaking. Thank you so much. I want to really speak, if you're one of these men and your ears are perking up right now, I'm going to talk about some subtlety as we go forward. And what I hope is that you'll be able to do your best to relax your body and remember that my context is that it's so fucking awesome that you are wanting to give pleasure to your partner. And I never want you to lose that. We're just going to adventure into some of the subtlety that is often missed and something that I've seen many different times that's actually coming in the way of the deeper lovemaking when there's that dynamic. So now that I've said that, one of the things that I think can happen when there is a situation with a man who's like really in deep desire to give and to make sure that his partner experiences orgasm, one of the things that can happen is that his partner can feel a terrific amount of pressure to make sure that she has the orgasm for him. And what I've seen, because women's bodies are all different, and so are all women's minds are all different, so is every human and every individual. And that means that when someone's approaching with the clear and kind and genuine intention to give pleasure, and even maybe with the great intention of not stopping until the orgasm has happened, we have no idea what's really happening in that partner's mind who's the one trying to have the orgasm. And oftentimes, it's a little bit stressful. It's a little bit stressful. And I have heard this time and time again. And what winds up happening is if the partner who's being pleasured is able to articulate, which oftentimes even that is really hard, even being able to articulate, hey, I'm so glad that you are wanting so much to give me pleasure. Oftentimes this pleasure is coming in the form of him going down on her, giving her oral sex. Not necessarily only that, but that's a piece of what I'm going to focus on. Even for her to be able to identify and be able to find the words and be able to feel that in a comfortable place to be able to say those words of, hey, that it's so amazing. It feels so good. And I'm a little bit in my head. I'm a little bit feeling some pressure. I'm not enjoying the whole sex act as much because I'm trying so hard to come because I know it's so important to you, right? Even if she's able to have and start that conversation, which often is a really hard one just in and of itself, it's one of the other things that I've seen is it's like the investment on the part of the giver seems to be so high that it's really hard to like unplug from the, no, but I really want to give this to you. I really want to make sure that you come. I'm not going to be the kind of man who didn't make you come. And then there we have this piece that we can investigate. I think sometimes entwined in, and this is something that like, if you're seeing yourself in this dynamic as I speak about it, you can inquire, is this true for you? It will not be true for everyone, but this is, hopefully you'll take this as an inquiry. It can often be that the investment in our partner's pleasure is coming from an amazing place of we feel good when they feel good. We love them so much we want them to have pleasure. And also in the room may be a little bit of a story that I am a good lover and I define myself as a good lover. That's an important pillar of who I am. And I define myself as a good lover by being the kind of man who makes women come. And so right there, Again, love the men who are interested in making women come. Love it. And if we're talking about like leaning in and even having better lovemaking, and in some respect even becoming a better lover, then we have this opportunity, if we can feel there's a little flavor of, I need you to have the orgasm because it's part of how I define myself as a good lover, then there's a potential to unhook from that and open to a curiosity and an interest of what could really open if you are able to find an attunement, a flow, a deepening. You know, I really hold, and I have so much to say about this, and it will continue over as the podcast evolves. The thing that I think makes sex absolutely phenomenal and otherworldly and takes us into places that go far beyond even maybe how we've defined pleasure is attunement, is curiosity, is listening, is looking for what allows for, and this is maybe going to sound really out of context, I promise I'll explain more in other future episodes, but looking for what creates relaxation, what creates a softening, what creates such a depth of safety that totally different things than we are used to can begin to arise. And so if we are fixated on a particular goal, and this is another one where it's not limited to this dynamic, right? Being focused on a particular goal, I got a lot more to say about that too. Today, I'm specifically speaking about it in this dynamic with, I want to make you come. It's really important to me that you come. And so I think we have a lot of possibility here and a lot of options for how we can potentially explore this and shift the high level of care and attention, being a partner that wants to make our partner come, and bring it into the space of curiosity. And so whether or not, I'd say if you identify as a partner who really wants to make your partner come, thank you. Thank you for your service. And even if your partner has never said, hey, I get a little stressed out of trying to make sure that I come because I know how important it is to you, even if they've never had that conversation with you, you could use this as an opportunity to begin a conversation. You know, like, hey, you know how much I love to give you pleasure. Are there things that are happening for you? Are there things you would like more? I think you can even check in, you know, how does it feel for you? Do you ever feel any pressure because it's so important to me that I make sure you come? Your partner may say, absolutely not. I love it. Keep doing what you're doing. Everything's going great. And also maybe it will open up the opportunity for your partner to share other layers of where there may be feelings of pressure. So I think the first thing is just being willing to open up a conversation. And in that same realm is being willing to hear what your partner has to say. And that can be really hard. If our ego is tied into, and I don't think the ego is a bad thing, also another discussion for another day. If our ego is really invested in making sure that our partner comes, and then we open up, we're brave, and we open up a conversation to see like what's really going on for them when we're in those dynamics together, then we have to be also willing to listen. And when we listen, we may get feedback that, especially if our ego has been highly invested, might feel tender to the part of us that wants to get it right, the part of us that believes that this is part of what makes us good. And so we have to be available for, if we're going to open up this conversation, if our partner says, yeah, you know, sometimes I'm just really in my head and I am just trying so hard to make sure that I come because you want it, but honestly it's just creating a lot of tension in my body and I don't actually relax into and enjoy the sex as much. that may really ping on, oh my God, I've been doing something wrong. And it could be really easy to shut down and to get defensive. And I just want to say to, your tender heart, if this is something that comes up for you, if you, move in the world and experiment with this, is just to say it's okay if it gives you a little prickle and you need some space. It's okay to say to your partner, hey, wow, I'm a little more sensitive to this conversation than I anticipated. I want to take a little bit of space to just digest what you're sharing with me. And then when you feel that you're, give yourself something that feels nurturing or nourishing to you, whether that be going for a walk, putting yourself in water, a shower, something like that. Oftentimes something that involves moving your body will be very helpful to help you reset. Talking to someone you care about is another great way to move some of the energy about what's come up. We all have our different ways. Again, another podcast discussion about maybe ways we can look to take care of ourselves when we are feeling a trigger or a little bit prickly. But give it some space. It's okay to need some space because this is a sensitive conversation. And then make sure to come back to the conversation when you feel like your body is soft and relaxed, and where you can be open to now what can happen now that we've allowed for even more honesty. Because if our goal is truly to deeply pleasure our partner, and if we can get past the part where we're invested that means something about us, and we can let that go, then we can be curious. Then we can be open to what really wants to happen with them. And then the conversation can become, what are some things that you feel would be pleasurable that wouldn't create pressure? And maybe they don't even sound super sexy to you. And can you be open to that? Maybe maybe if she's brave enough to say I don't know, I just love it if maybe before we make love, you could give me a massage. Or maybe if you just focus on gently stroking my inner thighs. And maybe if you just hold my body and we just breathe together. I need more of that. That really gives me pleasure. That gives me softening. That gives me relaxation. And if she's sharing those kind of things with you, I have no idea what she's going to share with you, right? Again, every single human being is different. But whatever she shares with you, can you be open and curious to allow her to feel safe in sharing that with you and to really lean into it? And this is another tricky one. Watch if you are leaning in just enough that you check the box versus leaning in to really be curious. For example, if my partner says, what I think would really relax me deeply and allow me to open in our lovemaking more, and not necessarily about orgasm, but just to really open and enjoy more of what you want is to give me pleasure, would be a massage before we get sexual, for example. And then you, maybe the next time you're about to make love, you give a 5-minute little something, full body, you make sure that her whole body is massaged because she asked you for a massage. And then she's not really open, but you love each other, you go forward, you make love, it feels okay for both of you. And later, maybe she says, I love that you started with the massage. And it definitely wasn't a massage that was enough time for me to have that softening that I really crave if we're looking to take the lovemaking deeper and the pleasure deeper. And this is another thing of staying supple, staying receptive, and really being interested and curious in what our partner wants, not what we think they should want, not how we have defined what their experience of pleasure should be. And of course, there can be sticky dynamics in here. Of course, this is just a basic example. And if things feel more complicated and you want to have this kind of communication in a way that, and you're having trouble and you're getting stuck on it, this is where you reach out to me to do some private work, or you find somebody else that you trust. So remember, I'm just giving a generic example, but if that comes up, then there could be a tendency to say, oh, I see, I just can't please you. There's just no pleasing you. And then there can be that tendency to shut down and cycle in, no matter what I do, I can't get it right. This is such a fine line, and something, and this goes in every direction, could be either partner, right? But this is such a fine line of when we listen, sometimes because the trigger is strong, or our need to be right, and maybe some fears about taking advantage or letting our guard down. There's lots of different reasons why we might feel some hindrances to fully taking in if our partner shares a need or a desire. We need to watch for the part of us that wants more to be right than to be curious, open, and available for what the actual need or desire or expression is for our partner. And so if we take a step toward giving them what they have asked for, and then they need to give us some edits on that step or have some additional requests, it can again bring up some defensiveness. And this is where we get to turn towards ourselves and really investigate, well, where has my investment been, and where is my investment? Is my investment truly in my partner's pleasure? Because the way that I'm going to discover my partner's pleasure in the best way is by really listening to what they say and working together with them to find the click, the place where it works for both of us, and being available for edits and staying curious, staying relaxed and open in my body. And if as I invite a conversation, as I invite the space for edits, if I feel bristly, if I feel some defensiveness, then I can really look to, and there may be some, quote unquote work to do on where has my investment been? Has my investment on their pleasure actually been in giving them pleasure in the way that I have defined should work for them? And I got really good at that. And now you're changing the rules, and I don't like that because I no longer feel in control or relaxed and safe. And this is okay, if that comes up. And it's okay to not feel relaxed and safe. It's okay to feel a little bit unstable when we lose some control. And all it means is that we need some care. We need some support. We need some better understanding of how we can navigate our lives, how we can move through what's made us feel like we need that control, and how we can navigate our lives in that space of curiosity rather than in needing to define and control. And I know that sounds crazy, that like deciding that we want to be someone who makes our partner come, how that could actually be an expression of our need for control. And it can be. And again, this is something to be curious about. And the remedy is like taking care of ourselves, even when we feel, especially when we feel a trigger, or when we feel some bristling. I'm not sure exactly how to describe what the feelings might be in your body, but defensiveness is a good indicator. A feeling, I feel like that feeling of like somebody's trying to get something from me. Somebody's trying to pull something over on me. All of these feelings are indicating that there's investigation to be done in our own experience. And if you can get freed up by getting some support and by caring for yourself in these places when it comes up around something like this, it's going to free up all different kinds of areas in your life. And this is one of the things that I absolutely love about working with sex and sexuality is as we look at some of the dynamics that come up in our sexual experiences, we actually are uncovering like a very potent version of things that we often are experiencing in other parts of our life. So if we free up something in our sexual encounter, we're going to feel a freeing up in our lives. So that's just if it's triggering when you start to have this conversation with your partner, when you start to be curious about what else might give them pleasure if there has been a feeling of some kind of pressure to come. And then as another interesting experiment, and this would be something that you would discuss together, because it is absolutely possible that you are a partner that always makes sure your partner comes and your partner loves that and everything is going great. If that is the case, celebrate that. I love that. And if you, wherever you are on this spectrum, whether it's that one partner has been feeling pressured to come and it's actually creating tension, or whether it's that you're both, just loving what's happening, but you're also curious about if sex could expand, if it could go deeper, if there are more things for you. Another thing you can experiment with is together discussing, certainly don't do this without talking about it, but discussing together, hey, I'm interested in going deeper. I wonder what might happen if this one time when we have sex, or even sensual play, wherever you're playing, we didn't focus on having orgasms. I wonder what would happen. And sometimes the power of experimenting in that way is that we can lift off this particular kind of pressure or goal that we almost always bring into the bedroom with us, and we can allow for more of this curiosity, this experimentation, this play, this flow. And when we're not focused on the result for either partner, then we get to learn about where sometimes that focus on the result has maybe kept us from some of the intimacy, right? I'm not saying this is everyone, but sometimes if I am in focus on orgasm mode, I'm missing a lot of the other sensation, the sensation of my partner's hands on my body, the sensation, or maybe I'm feeling them, but they're all in service of this one thing. But what happens when I allow my experience of that to expand? What happens when I can allow my body to relax and open through relaxation rather than that, rather than the intensity of the focus that moves toward orgasm? And if this is something you experiment with, it does not have to be something you do every time, right? This can be something where you both agree and you're going to try it this one time and then go out and have brunch the next day and talk about what that was like for you. What did you like about it? What challenged you? And then after brunch, have some sex the way you always have, because you both like that too, right? This is any way in which I would ever invite you to experiment, to expand. None of it would ever be instead of. If you are enjoying and receiving from what's been happening in your lovemaking, then you get to keep that. And then also you get to expand should you choose to. And as far as I'm concerned, I think that expansion is incredibly exciting, incredibly inspiring. I think there's a whole other world there just waiting for you. And I love it so much, and I love seeing people tap into that world and discover that world. And sometimes it's having challenges in our relationship or in the bedroom that brings us even into a place where we need to explore. And sometimes we're really stable and we love what we've got and we just want to keep going deeper. And whatever your way in is, it's all welcome. So I think that I will complete there for now. And thank you so much. I would love to hear if there are topics that you are excited about or interested in, or if you have questions, you can always email us at open@charumorgan.com. And I will see you next week.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, maybe give us 5 stars, write us a review, share an episode that you enjoyed with a friend. It really helps as I'm just beginning this process and getting things started. I'd love to get more people hearing this, becoming aware of this work. And if you're interested in learning about how I can support you with one-on-one work or maybe joining us for a future couples retreat, you can get more information at charumorgan.com. That's CharumorGan.com. Thank you so much again for being here.